there, and welcome to The Ring, your news' debating show, broadcasting from the European Parliament here in Brussels. Once a week, two elected members of the European Parliament go face-to-face on some of the most pressing issues of our time. This week, we zoom in on the hot-button issue of trade. From South America to India, the EU has signed not one, but two massive trade deals in 2026 alone. European business communities are euphoric, but farming communities are concerned. Luis Albertos has more.
As global trade becomes increasingly entangled with geopolitics, the EU is being forced to rethink what its economic openness is for: growth or strategic power. With the United States becoming a less reliable partner and China an ever more dominant competitor, trade is no longer just about lowering tariffs, but about securing supply chains, influence, and autonomy. Negotiations with India, renewed momentum on a deal with Mercosur, and outreach to Indo-Pacific partners reflect this shift. Supporters say these trade deals secure Europe's place in a fragmented global economy. Critics fear they hurt farmers, weaken environmental standards, and erode public trust. Can the EU use its standards as leverage rather than compromise them for access and influence? Or will internal divisions reduce it to a large market reacting to decisions made elsewhere?
The questions we hope to pose to our contenders. Let's meet them.
Kieran Mullooly, an Irish MEP and a member of the Renew Europe group. He is a vice chair of the Special Committee on Housing and a member of the Committee on Regional Development. Before becoming an MEP, he worked as a journalist for over 3 decades. He has also been a consistent critic of the EU-Mercosur trade agreement, arguing that in its current form, it poses significant risks to European farmers, food standards, and public health. The Mercosur trade deal will do nothing of substance for the non-agricultural sector in Europe, he said. Jörgen Warborn, a Swedish MEP and a member of the European People's Party group. He serves on the Committee on International Trade, where he has played a prominent role in shaping the European Parliament's trade policy agenda. His work focuses on strengthening the EU's competitiveness, expanding international trade, and supporting open markets. On the Mercosur deal, he said, "We owe citizens facts, not fear. The safeguards in this agreement are stronger than in any previous EU trade deal."
Kieran Mullooly and Jörgen Warborn, welcome to The Ring. The idea here is to give our viewers a glimpse of what your debates are like inside the hemicycle, so I hope you feel right at home. Kieran Mullooly, let's start with you. 334 members of the European Parliament voted in favour of referring the EU-Mercosur deal to the European Court of Justice. You were one of them. Why do you dislike this deal so much?
Well, I suppose, firstly, that issue on that vote last week wasn't entirely just on the Mercosur issue. It was on the issue of what we're there for as a parliament. We're there, as you know, to co-legislate and also to be there to scrutinise trade deals as well. So effectively, what we were asking for last week was just one thing at the moment: a legal referral. We want our top courts in Europe to look at the issues, particularly look at that balancing mechanism. It's something new in terms of the parliament over the last 30 years.
And as we know, the European Court of Justice moves very slowly, so we could be looking at perhaps 2 more years before they finish their work. 324 members of the European Parliament disagreed with this, and they voted against referring the deal to the European Court of Justice. Tell you why you like the deal so much.
I think the viewers saw that China is now pressing us on one part and US on the other parts. From a geopolitical standpoint, this is a good deal. From an economic standpoint, this is a good deal. It is creating more jobs in Europe, so we need it as soon as possible. And you mentioned one of the issues that made you want to send it for a legal check. But that is not really true. That the rebalancing mechanism, it's covered for within the agreement. There is no issue there.
And there is a potentiality now that the deal could be provisionally implemented.
That's what we need now, because...
How would you feel about that if the Commission already provisionally introduced?
Yeah, I would have a major problem. And just to stick with the vote this week, the majority of our MEPs all around Europe have felt that this issue needs to be referred. It needs to be looked at in depth. Remember, right across Europe, take countries like France and Poland, 127 MEPs in those areas voted yes for this decision. They represent the biggest industries
Germany,
Europe.
the biggest economy, is in favour.
But the French MEPs and the Polish, to a person, representing industries in Bordeaux and Paris and right across Warsaw, and yet they said we need a legal referral. I trust that. Do you trust their, Jürgen, do you not trust their judgment that this needs to go back to terms of industry in their countries?
No, it's the other way around. I mean, it's for the rebalancing mechanism, as you mentioned, one of the most important part from you, it is actually in the agreement.
But they want it to be reviewed. They want it to be reviewed, obviously.
So why did you want to review
members
it?
Of Parliament members of Parliament are asked to come forward and to represent their constituents. The industries in France and in Poland and in Ireland said, we want to see a proper legal review.
So, if you read Article 21.14.10c, you will see the rebalancing mechanism out there.
Have you read that article?
I guess you didn't.
No, I haven't. No. But I've looked at the
That's why you voted the way you did.
I've looked at the precedents, the sort of been suggested as precedents. In the precedents cases, there were previous trade agreements with the European Union. There's no previous trade agreement with regard to the Mercosur countries, and in those circumstances, it's in order that we do this.
We haven't used it before. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's also within all the WTO rules. And since it's in the agreement, which you obviously haven't read, you still voted to send it for legal checks.
Because I represent my country and the industry in my country, the same way as the French in Bordeaux and Paris and Warsaw say, we want a legal review of this agreement. What are you afraid of, Jürgen? Are you afraid it'll come back, that it will not come back at all? I mean,
what are you afraid of? What are your fears?
I'm afraid of losing economic development. I'm afraid of losing jobs in Europe. I'm afraid of the small business owners. I'm afraid of all that growth that Europe needs in this moment.
My issue one of the big issues I have with this deal is the scale of it. It's overrated. It's overstated. I'm pro-trade. I'm in favour of the EU-India trade agreement. I was cheering yesterday morning. Why?
Good.
Because of the scale of it. We're talking about a country with 1.5 billion people as opposed to Mercosur with 300 million people. We're talking about a country with limited trade opportunities as opposed to India, which has shown a willingness to trade. These are totally different situations. You're afraid they won't come back. The scale is not there, Jürgen. I'm not particularly worried.
Oh, the scale is definitely there. It's 270 million consumers in the Mercosur countries.
1.5 million
No, but I'd like to have both.
I'd
like to have both. We have US pressing us with tariffs. We have China pressing us with subsidies. And you are choosing one agreement. I'm choosing two. And you say, well, it's not enough growth, but it's still growth.
And Kieran, are you not worried about the EU's relevance on the global stage?
EU has to be relevant. We have to do trade deals. But
by delaying this deal, we're a laughing stock.
I want to trade with countries, I want to trade with countries that are not cutting down the rainforest. I want to trade with countries that do not have a major issue with regard to food quality and food safety.
Did you not read the fine print of the safeguards?
Don't talk to me about safeguards. Will we really discuss safeguards with regard to the...
Let's talk about the safeguards.
In a European context, let's look at the safeguards. We've had tremendous agreements in this House going over the last number of years. Do you remember the EU-Israel trade agreement? We had a marvellous safeguard in Article 2 which said if any of the parties were particularly guilty in terms of breach of human rights, there was going to be a problem. I wonder has Israel actually breached Article 2? Most people in the UN think they have. Have you seen the safeguard cut in? Have we suspended the agreement, Jürgen? Why haven't we suspended? That was a safeguard. It was never implemented. What happened to that safeguard?
Are you mindful of these concerns?
It's the strongest safeguards in any trade agreements, OK? It's not been stronger for any, OK? Yeah. So there is a 5%, if the price increases by more than 5% and the volume increases by more than 5%, farmers are protected. And that's not only the protection for farmers, it's also the tariff rate quotas.
Who ring the bell? When will they be protected? Next year? This year?
You have
following year?
Well, that's also the thing. This is unprecedented when it comes to the safeguards, how fast they will kick in.
So nobody knows is the answer.
21 days.
Yeah, well, nobody knows.
Also in the, it's 21 days.
Unlimited import quotas on sensitive products. Does that not satisfy you?
I think
Ursula von der Leyen, she sat down, she met with the farmers on the sidelines of that EU summit that took place before Christmas. Was that not enough?
Maeve, when I came to this Parliament on the very first week, I met Ursula von der Leyen and I raised this issue on day one. And in that meeting in Parliament in Strasbourg, she said to me, but Kieran, we are working with the farmers in Brazil. Things are going to be different. They are already improving the situation. And yet, in my country, member state, in the last 6 months, we've seen Brazilian meat come in with illegal growth promoters involved, with carcinogenic products, and not just come in, but go straight into the food chain and be consumed. She told me this was not going to happen again. It did happen. How can we trust?
And this, of course, has been a massive scandal and covered a lot in the last couple of weeks in Ireland. These are the genuine concerns that communities in Ireland and France and Greece, in fact, there's been farmers out protesting. So how do you address those concerns and viewers here today who are concerned?
You know, I think that is a valid argument, actually. One of your first valid arguments, which is also why the Commission has acted on this. And the standards, they are there, no matter the Mercosur trade agreement or not. They will be there. It will not change with the agreement. We will still have our standards. There will still be imports of products from the Mercosur countries, but we will lose out on the opportunities. How do we then make sure that consumers, animal welfare and plant protection is there? We do checks. More checks. And, of course, these
and
products...
money. I know there's 6.3...
Hang on, unfortunately, they're not working.
And there's 6.3 billion euros earmarked as well for farmers in the next budget.
And climate control and all sorts of other issues.
We always have to read the fine print, of course. But,
could I just say...
Just no, let me stop you there, because actually we're just getting warmed up here and it's time to take the gloves off. So now you both have the opportunity to kick off with your own questions. So I will stay quiet for a minute. Kieran, you go ahead, please, with your first question.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask Jürgen up straight if he knows what antimicrobial resistance is in terms of medical situation. It's basically a medical condition which occurs after the overuse of antibiotics. It's something that affects you and me. Forget about the animals for the moment. It's you and me, your kids, your family. And if in an emergency situation you go into hospital, you require antibiotics. If you've been exposed to more antibiotics than you knew in the course of your life, you're in big trouble. Brazilian meat is coming in the end of the day. We know antibiotics are in it. We've seen it. In my country, we've had an expose with regard to right across Brazil. It's still going on. So the question is very straightforward. The question is very straightforward at the end of the day. What price do you put on the safety of your family?
So the meat is coming in, no matter with the Mercosur agreement or not. And what happens if we have the Mercosur agreement is that we increase the checks. In fact, we will do 50% more checks in the Mercosur countries. We will do 33% more checks at the border, at the European borders. And there will be a task force to improve the border efficiency. So actually, for health, for people, and for animal and for the plants, there will be more checks with the Mercosur agreement than without the argument.
You can guarantee this? Because on the 25th of September last year, they came into Ireland. I've asked the Commission since that about the checks, where the meat came from, where it went to. The Commission doesn't know. They still don't know. 5 months
So you're not
later,
reassured by what Jürgen said?
5 months, well, that's a fact. You can ask anybody in the Parliament next week. When we asked the Commissioner, where did it come from, where did it go, the checks.
But are your voters not excited about cheaper steaks?
Fortunately, the EU, one of the fantastic things about the EU is the focus on quality and health over the years. Our Irish consumer wants to see the continuation of proper quality and safe food.
Over quantity.
That's the big issue for me. Safe food, and your family and my family, we can be sure
Warborn,
what we're eating.
Your opportunity now to pose your first question, please, to Kieran Mullooly.
We have US and China pressing us from two parts. It's been very, very hard with US lately, and we need more trade agreements. India, it's very good that you are pro the Indian one, and we have several others. The Chile one, I guess you voted for as well. Why do you choose not to have the growth that comes with a Mercosur agreement? You say it's too small, but it's still growth. It's still more jobs for European businesses. It supports small and medium-sized businesses. We need growth in Europe, so why can you not help with providing that growth?
It's a fair question. The geopolitical situation has been one of the big unsettling issues since I joined the Parliament. Every week there's a different agenda, and usually driven by the United States or otherwise. But the point is, you're right, we need to do more trade. But for me as an MEP, I have to balance. On one side, the better good of the EU, and on the other side, the better good of the economy of the EU. And when the people of France and the people of Poland, the people of Austria, Ireland and even Belgium are on this have come in and said, at the end of the day, we have more to lose in a deal of this size because it's so small. That's what they're saying to me.
Even though I don't know if the French economy should be a good example.
Well, nevertheless, the French are united on this. We've seen it in the Parliament. I mean, 127 MEPs can be wrong. Can they all be wrong, Jürgen?
Yes.
Can they all be wrong?
Yes.
They can all be wrong.
Yes.
Well, I'm afraid that's a bit of a statement about you and democracy. Because at the end of the day, they represent left, right and middle.
Ciarán Mullooly, you've a chance for another question there.
Are you in favour of a deal which, at the end of the day, continues to leave workers in Brazil on an average monthly salary of just €1,000? It's doing nothing for trade. How could you support that? Nothing for employees and workers in Brazil.
You're allowed to answer.
So, if we vote down the Mercosur trade agreement, how will it help the workers in Brazil? How will it help the workers in Europe, in Ireland? It will be the opposite. And we spoke about it. It's about growth. Europe is facing a huge growth problem. And it's good that the Commission is now pushing to change this position. We have the Draghi report. We need to do a lot of things. The rest of the world is growing faster than Europe. And that's why we need to tap into that growth. And we do that with the trade agreements. But you decide that you do not want to tap into that growth to 270 million consumers
no, I look at the
that
facts,
can sell the cars,
I look at the facts,
the
though.
pharmaceuticals. I also look at the facts.
Well, the trade unions tell us that, and actually I misquoted, €500 per month is the average one. At the top 10% are on €1,200 per month.
That's today. That's today.
That has been the way for some time, and you know that.
So,
and
with an agreement...
Another point that complicates this matter as well, just to complicate it even further for you. You want to sell, people want to sell cars into this community. How many of these workers are going to be able to afford a Volvo car at that wage, at that salary? Never.
Allow Mr. Warborn to answer.
No, much more of the workers will afford it if we have the Mercosur agreement.
Not a chance.
Because economic development will increase with the agreement. That's what trade does. Actually, the European export will grow by 39%. That's a huge possibility for cars, for car parts, for machinery, for pharmaceutical products, and for farmers.
And that's why the industry have called it the big trophy that they took home from Paraguay. And you mentioned Mario Draghi. Yeah. He has been invited to the EU leaders' retreat in February, and that just describes how bad, really, our economy is right now.
What Ciarán is doing is saying no to growth. And I'm saying yes to growth.
I'm saying balance. I'm saying balance it out.
Well, I'm curious to hear what our viewers think. Do write to us at thering@euronews.com to tell us our view. But now I would like to bring in another voice, because regulars here on Euronews will have noticed that Ursula von der Leyen was in New Delhi earlier this week, and the red carpet was rolled out for her. We can take a listen to what she had to say during the EU-India Historic Summit.
We did it. We delivered the mother of all deals. And this is the tale of two giants, the world's second and fourth largest economies, two giants who choose partnership in a true win-win fashion. A strong message that cooperation is the best answer to global challenges.
Ursula von der Leyen there, also charming the Indian communities there with her traditional dress. This is not so controversial as the Mercosur. Why do you really like the EU-India deal?
It's a huge deal. It's a fantastic market for European products. It's 1.4 billion consumers there. And in a time where, once again, when we are pressed by US and China, we need more partners. Mm-hmm. And that's why this agreement is so good.
We've seen chicken, beef, sugar are protected here, so nobody wants a food fight with the farmers in front of the Parliament.
Which is why it's a good deal. You know what? I think the EU negotiators have learned from Mercosur, having waited for 20 years, and we've seen it, little or no beef involved in this deal at all.
So that's why your voters will love it, because there's no beef here.
It's a key indigenous industry right across Europe. So at the end of the day, Europe must protect its markets as well. So the balance was needed, and she's found the balance. We're quite happy with this. But Irish whiskey will sell into India in better volumes than ever before. Yes. We're really pleased about it. But we're also glad to see it going the other way. We think it's good for Europe because of the scale. That's the key issue here. Balance what Europe has and the scale of what's possible.
Okay.
And so now the workforce is, they can afford to buy a Volvo, you mean, in India.
And the Irish can afford to buy another car in Ireland with the whiskey sales increase. It's a win-win. It's a win-win.
Which will happen in Mercosur as well.
Well, not because of the scale, Jürgen. I'm quite genuine about that. It doesn't have the scale. If you look, say, in Ireland at the moment, we've got 500 million sales already into India in terms of whiskey. Already, before we start. Whereas the Mercosur exports are tiny from an Irish perspective.
270 million consumers. I think the viewers can assess that.
1.4 billion.
We will continue discussing it in 1 minute, but just we must take a short break here on The Ring. But stay with us because we'll be back very soon with some more political punch from the Parliament. Welcome back to The Ring, Euronews' weekly debating show here, broadcasting from the Parliament in Brussels. I'm joined by MEPs Mullooly and Jürgen Warborn, and the idea here is to bring the Parliament debates to your sofa. So, what about you? Well, according to a recent Eurobarometer, what do Europeans think of the EU trade policy? Well, 77% support the EU's common trade policy. 83% say that the EU should strengthen its economic independence and diversify its trade relations. But at least 75% of citizens agree that agricultural imports should only ever enter the European Union if they comply with the EU's environmental, animal welfare and labour standards. Are you surprised there?
No, not a bit. Not a bit. I'm pro-trade, and I'm the person who says we have got to make these deals and make sure they're the right deals. But the key one is the last stat, the 75%. Yeah. At the end of the day, people want to have safe food. And if the safeguards are to mean anything, then they've got to come back in front of Parliament. We start looking at them again. We've got to find out, where did the meat come from last September in Ireland? Nobody knows. It's still a mystery. We cannot go forward until we have clear safeguards on these issues.
Jürgen, your reaction there to that data?
I'm not surprised at all. Well, if I am surprised, it's rather that the last number isn't higher, because, of course, we're all concerned with food safety. And my point is that with the Mercosur agreement, food safety will actually increase. We will have more checks, 50% more checks in the Mercosur countries, 33% more checks at our border, a task force of increasing efficiency. So I guess that means that we will find the meat or other products that are not good for us.
So why is the EU-Mercosur deal so toxic then? Is there a communications issue here? Have you been miscommunicating this deal and the benefits, perhaps?
I think so. And I also admit that there are sensitive products. For the agriculture sector as a whole, it's huge potential for dairy, for wine, for a lot of different products. But for some products, they are sensitive. It's beef, it's poultry, it's sugar, it's a few others. But here the Commission has really been clever in negotiating it. It's tariff rate quotas, meaning the volumes are small, relatively small, 1.5% maximum in consumption of the European consumption. For beef, one steak per year.
For opening standards, on opening day.
One steak.
And then it grows, and then it grows, and then it grows.
No, it doesn't. It's in the agreement. So it's one steak per year. Over a period of decades. And then, with the quotas, then you have the safeguards, meaning that prices cannot decrease too much, then tariffs kicks in. And there is also an insurance policy in terms of money.
I think the good news on the vote last week is that Europe is changing its mind about the entire Mercosur deal now. We've seen.
Who is?
I was told.
Who in Europe? I haven't seen Commission President change her mind.
I think social. To be very clear about
these statistics says something else.
To be very clear about it, when we voted
but just who has changed their mind? I'm really curious.
Answer the question. Last year, when we had a vote, we had 10, 11 Social Democrats who abstained. This week, they voted in favour of the legal agreement. I believe they'll vote to knock down Mercosur. That's who's changed their mind. That's why we won this week, by the way. It wasn't so the left put the motion forward, the right were involved. But at the end of the day, it was Social Democrats from Romania and Hungary that changed their mind on this situation, and that's happening right across the board with regard to Mercosur.
But it's very political.
Because of the safety issues.
It's very political.
At the end of the day, it's about food quality. And the Commission, you asked the question, what did the Commission do wrong? The Commission failed to recognise the cultural problem in Brazil. This is an examination that went over 3,000 kilometres, over 14 years.
You disagree, sir.
It's right across the country. You can't change that overnight. You can't.
Okay, let's
Kieran is putting forward great arguments for provisional application, actually, meaning that the Mercosur agreement should now start to be in force as soon as possible. Because the vote last week, you didn't read the agreement, but you still voted to send it for legal checks, meaning that what you are really against is the Mercosur agreement. And that's why it was a delaying process from you and some colleagues. But we cannot afford to delay the process. We have been negotiating this for 25 years.
25 years,
and
indeed.
now we need to put it into force. And I think if we put it, no, we do more checks.
Oh,
so when we put it into action, then export will grow, jobs will grow, and that will be very good for you.
Can I tell you one thing that won't grow? That's the trees in the Amazon. You seem to have forgotten that issue, and I'm sure your Swedish viewers are interested in that as well. We heard at Christmas.
That's why
that the biggest soya producers in Brazil are going back into the rainforest.
And on that point, Kieran Mullooly,
that's what you're voting. That's what you're voting for. That's a fact.
No.
They have breached an agreement.
Once again,
they have breached an agreement, and they're going back into the rainforest. We are going to see more trees cut than ever before, and you're saying that's fine. We're going to go ahead on a provisional.
I want to continue quizzing you.
2 years to go ahead.
So haven't we the EU deforestation? So
that's the
you
view
didn't
from
read the agreement.
That is the view from Kieran Mullooly and Jürgen Warborn. Now it is time, though, to move on to our fifth and final round. Are you ready? So I'm going to ask our MEPs a set of questions, and you only can answer with a yes or no. Is that doable?
Debatable.
Debatable. Not easy at all. Is Ursula von der Leyen a good leader, Kieran?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
Do you like that Brussels trades on behalf of the 27, Kieran?
Yes, in key areas.
Yes.
Is globalisation a good thing, Jürgen?
Yes.
Yes, in controlled and regulated.
Kieran, is the EU relevant on the world stage now in 2026?
Yes is the answer, and I'm a big believer in that. But we have to be even more relevant and not reacting to the US and other parties, other world powers.
Yes, and with the Mercosur agreement, even more so.
Was it a mistake to sign the EU-US trade deal back in Scotland back in July?
No.
Yes, because we were bullied. On that Sunday in July, our president of the Commission was bullied into submission, not the circumstances.
Could I maybe comment?
Should that deal be ratified, yes or no?
I think it should stay suspended until we clarify exactly what's going on in the United States. We need that deal. We need it concrete, and we thought we had it.
Struggling there with the yes or no, Mr. Mullooly.
We need more predictability. I say more. We cannot create we cannot create absolutely stable situation for businesses at the moment. So
should the deal be ratified?
It should, because it creates more predictability than today.
Final question, Mr. Mullooly. Did you agree with anything that Jürgen Warborn said today?
I certainly did. I mean, the overall trade deal, Jürgen is right. We need to do the big deals. That's why I'm happy with India. But it all comes down at the end of the day, for me, to a personal choice. Jürgen, would you be happy with your family eating Brazilian meat tomorrow?
And what about you?
Yes, absolutely. I do eat Brazilian meat and Irish meat
Even
and
though
Swedish
you have no idea
meat.
where it came from?
And just final point with you, did you agree with anything Kieran Mullooly said here today?
Yes, I think it is very good that Kieran is supportive of the the agreement with India. We need that. We need more trade agreements in general.
Okay. What a lively debate. I think we've given our viewers a real glimpse of what it's like inside the heated hemicycle. Thank you so much, Jürgen Warborn and Kieran Mullooly, for being our guests. It was great to hear your views, and we'd also like to hear yours, so please do reach out. thering@euronews.com. That is our email address. Get in touch. We love hearing from you, but stay with us here on Euronews.